Welcome to the Filmcast review of Masters of the Universe. I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. A young man on Earth discovers a fabulous secret legacy as the prince of an alien planet and must recover a magic sword and return home to protect his kingdom, end quote.
How much of a secret is it?
Yeah, I was like, fabulous. What is who wrote
Fully
this
aware.
description on IMDb? Anyway.
Somebody who was writing the IMDb, like, took a little artistic license there.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Fab. All right, guys. Before we get into talking about this actual movie, let's just talk briefly. Like, what was your relationship with the He-Man action figures, TV shows, movies, new TV show by Kevin Smith on Netflix?
Totally
where are
that.
you with He-Man? Devindra, was this a big part of your
I grew up
childhood?
with He-Man, but even as a kid, I was like, this thing exists to sell toys. I was fully aware of the sort of like construction of He-Man and why it existed. It was fine. I liked it, but I didn't watch the new thing. I'm not in love with this universe.
How about you, Jeff?
I mean, I loved it. I loved He-Man. I had Castle Grayskull. I had,
wow,
the toy.
The toy. Wow.
The physical Castle Grayskull. Yeah, it was one of my prized possessions. I loved my Castle Grayskull. I had the trap door. It was awesome. And I had many of the He-Man. I adored the cartoon. I was all about it. I mean, it was 40 years ago, but it was, I didn't watch the Kevin Smith reboot. I don't.
Same.
I don't have a lot of residual love for it, but at 8 years old, hell yeah, I loved it, dude. Those were among my favorite toys. They were so cool, and they were bigger than G.I. Joe, and they had really cool abilities, like
functions, right?
Ram Man's feet actually sprung forward. There was. They had cool stuff. And one of the things that the movie doesn't touch upon at all, or this movie doesn't touch upon at all, that I thought was the most awesome thing was He-Man's sword and Skeletor's sword. If you bought both of them attached to each other back to back to become a bigger sword. And that was the key that unlocked the door at Castle Grayskull.
I vaguely recall.
Ingenious.
Brilliant. So cool. Oh man, it blew my mind as a kid. I love those toys.
I played with the toys as well and watched some of the cartoons, but I wasn't like a huge diehard fan or anything. But it was a pretty solid part of my childhood. But Jeff, I guess since you're the biggest He-Man fan here, why don't we just start with you for the review? What were your thoughts about Masters of the Universe?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts about Masters of the Universe are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Well, let's hear it, Jeff.
I suppose one cannot be blamed for mocking how these toys were named. But why should I see this big budget IP if the movie itself is ashamed?
Agreed completely, Jeff. Agreed completely.
This movie it's crazy that this movie exists.
Yes.
This is, as you said, $170 million probably on the low end, and that doesn't count the
Some people
marketing.
are guessing it's closer to 200 plus probably another 100 on top for marketing and such.
$200 million for something that is embarrassed to exist? Like that is bonkers to me. And it's a shame because ostensibly, you're marketing to people. You're using this IP that people have some affection for, or you wouldn't be using the IP, right? The IP is what gets people through the door. And then you're telling them, hey, guess what? We know this is so dumb. This is so stupid.
Every person who has gone into the movie has purchased a ticket.
Yes.
For a movie called Masters of the Universe.
To see He-Man. And the whole movie is like, oh God, I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry it's called He-Man. He's called He-Man. I know that's so dumb. We know it's dumb. You know it's dumb, right? It's like, but I got excited about this and wanted to see the movie be cool. Here's the thing.
The tone of the film is what Jeff's referring to. The tone is very self-mocking, like this is stupid, and we know it's stupid, and you're watching a stupid thing.
The movie starts, the first, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, is I was like, wow, they're really doing it.
Yeah, they're going for
I have never seen a better toys come to life
Mm-hmm.
in anything, right? This is the first like 10 minutes of this movie. We start in Eternia. We start with young Adam, and there's an action sequence that has many, many, many of the characters that if you like He-Man, if you collected the toys as a kid, if you were into it, it is that toy authentically come to live action in a way that like even Marvel movies haven't achieved. You know, it is really the attention to detail on all of them. Like I could see the thing that was crazy to me about that opening sequence is I had like this visceral, tactile sense memory of how things felt in my fingers, like how Trapjaw's jaw hinge moved when I would mess with the toy as a kid. Like I felt it again because I could see, because they got it so right, all the imagery.
Right. Like
And I'm not saying-
Skeletor is a skeleton, a skull with like a 6-pack body.
Yeah.
Right. And you can see the sinews of the Skeletor.
I mean, it's
muscles.
exactly how the toy was sculpted, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but for me, as somebody who grew up with those toys, and again, I'm not the biggest He-Man fan today. It's not the same to me as like Marvel, where I still retain this love. But it was an amazing thing, truly amazing thing for me to sit there and go, man, I'm like having flashbacks to how it felt in my hand. Like seeing the way that stuff was represented on screen. It was like, man, I totally remember that. I remember all of those characters. Oh, I remember owning that one. And if that's what you're going for, they knocked that out of the park. And for the first 10 minutes, it's doing like this reverent, authentic,
right,
totally bought into elevating this thing into a high budget, price is no object, visual effects laden spectacle. And I thought, wow, we're really doing it. We're really doing Masters of the Universe in a way that first movie in the 80s just couldn't achieve, could not even approach, right? And then the movie completely changes and it becomes this, you know, I have to believe that all the folks that gave money for this at Mattel are like, we need the Barbie thing. Barbie was a massive hit. We need to do the Barbie thing. Remember how Barbie like deconstructed the idea of the Barbie toy and how that resonated to an entire generation, multiple generations of women who played with those toys and bought those toys. We got to do that with He-Man. Except here's the problem. He-Man is an adolescent power fantasy. Barbie is what a bunch of men thought women should be into. And the idea of deconstructing what a bunch of men taught generations of women.
Barbie was invented by a woman, Jeff.
What?
Barbie was invented by a woman. Like, it was specifically a doll created because she did not think little girls had dolls like that to play with. Like, because dolls used to be just babies. Little girls get to play with babies. Barbie, the whole thing about Barbie, little girls get to envision themselves as grown-ups.
Okay. Well, I got that wrong. But
yeah.
I still think the central point is correct in that Barbie is this sort of this impression that was laid at the feet of women of, here is an impossible ideal for you to try to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the dynamic with which, even though, you know, my sister, I played so many Barbies. I played Barbies like crazy because there was only girls on my block. So I played Barbies in trade for let's play tag and other stuff. But that I think that the central relationship between Barbies that women have is very different from the central relationship that boys have with He-Man, which is like, hey, it's about a little kid who raises a sword and becomes awesome. And the movie is trying to kind of do the same things that the Barbie movie did, which is like, let's take that apart and let's really think about how that is. And I think it's misapplied here on a fundamental level. And it is, applying sort of modern sensibilities to something. It is, the main character is this kind of repressed adolescent, this Peter Pan. And I think that misses the point completely about what is interesting or what could be interesting about a He-Man character. And the fact that the movie is just like it is doing this, on one hand, completely authentic representation of what these toys were. And on the other hand, the characters themselves that are in these outfits, that are dressed up in these ridiculous costumes that are so true to what the action figures were, the characters themselves are saying things like, "Oh, what? Oh, what do you call me? What is my name?" It's like Ram Man is not a stupid name unless you decide it's a stupid name. Your character can own that name. Especially if you literally ram people with your head all the time. And there's so many like sexual innuendo gags about, there's a character named Fisto. So of course we got to make a sexual innuendo joke about Fisto. And it's like, well, no, just do what you did in the first 10 minutes and maybe we can all have fun with the nostalgia. Like, you're in this nostalgia place. You've taken this thing and you've spent $200 million to make it look like a big budget movie. And now you're going to tell me that it was all dumb and we should all be embarrassed, and literally not going to use the word He-Man until like the last 2 minutes of the movie. And even then go, what? Ew. It's ridiculous. And the whole tone of trying to mix comedy. I love trying to mix comedy with action. I love that. I don't think any of the comedy in this movie works. I think we get the movie is way too long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And so much of that is goofing around and doing these dumb things that just undermine the entire premise and make the main character so unlikable and very little fun. Whereas when the movie kicks into high gear, like, the action sequences aren't bad. There are some really cool visuals, and I think, it's Jared Leto, but I think Skeletor's fun. Like,
it's a good Skeletor. Yeah. Like, he's done a great
he's one
Skeletor.
of the best parts, terrible human being, but one of the best parts of the movie.
It's a fun take on Skeletor. And, there's things about this movie that could have worked. It's just the whole take is bizarre. You spent all this money because seemingly you think there's value in this IP. And then the whole movie is telling me how valueless this IP is. So I was very disappointed with this. I think it's a train wreck.
I think what's so interesting is Travis Knight has said in an interview, the director of this film said, quote, "We do live in an age of detachment, of irony, of arm's length judgment, and that's not how I approach my work. I have sincere love for everything I do," end quote, which in my opinion just does not match with the final result that we got in this film.
Okay.
But Devindra Hardawar, please share with us your thoughts on Masters of the Universe.
I disagree with everything Jeff said. Basically, just take what Jeff said and hit the opposite. I think that tone, that sort of self-aware tone, is kind of how you have to do this. And here's the thing. I don't know, like you said the first 10 minutes, Jeff, I don't know how you can look at this movie and say, oh, it hates He-Man. No, this movie fucking loves He-Man. There's He-Man. This movie is like the best Star Wars movie we've gotten in a very long time, because it very much approaches it like the early Star Wars movies. Here's this amazing world with all these creatures. What's going on with them? What's going on with these powers? It builds a rich world. I think it does a great job of like giving us some of the stuff that was great in the series, like, or what I remember. Like, I never had the toys. I was always very jealous of the kids who had all the toys. But yeah, I never had all the toys to play with, but I watched a lot of He-Man, and you cannot translate that. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is not like a thing where there is a sense of like, oh, there is sort of like there was a straightforward where you can take the story that can have gravitas. It is He-Man. It's about a man in underwear with a big sword fighting a man with a skull face. It is inherently silly. It's always been silly, and it was made to appeal to kids. And I totally get that. I totally get the power trip of that. This movie, I guess I can see your point, Jeff. Like, if you really, really love the property and you think it's it's not wise to poke fun at the things that I think are kind of obviously funny about He-Man and what's silly about it. It is ridiculous that we're going into theaters to see a He-Man movie in the year 2026. That is insane to me. The way you can kind of do it is sort of like is to be self-aware about how some of this stuff is inherently silly, but also be like, it's also still a cool world. These people with these crazy powers still exist, and they are represented pretty accurately from the show and from the toys, from what I can see. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I did not expect to, because I don't care much about He-Man or Masters of the Universe. But I will say, Travis Knight knows how to make a good movie. That's the thing. Like he and his screenwriters at least like it gave us an in into this world. um Adam, as he's portrayed here, I think is kind of it is hilarious to take the characters like this is not a secret past of his. He knows where he comes from. He knows he's been transported to Earth, right? But to have his character be like trying to fit into modern life, I guess as an orphan, but also be like, I gotta find my secret sword, guys. I thought that was funny. We don't spend a lot of time there, but He-Man having a roommate who like sort of doesn't believe him, but also kind of likes him as a good guy. I thought those bits were funny. And then we're out of the real world pretty quickly. I really like I've never seen Nicholas Galitzine in anything, but he did a good job of embodying that character. It is hilarious that him in the real world is sort of like, this guy doesn't have muscles, right? He's just wearing big clothes. Clearly he's just a nerd of some kind. It's that to me is the thing that kind of took me out of the movie, because it's hilarious. Right. It's just a movie.
It's hilarious because he very obviously is incredibly jacked.
That dude is built. He is jacked. He's not a shrimp. Maybe as a kid you could portray him as a shrimp, but by the time he's grown up, he ain't no shrimp. But yeah, I quite liked. I thought Jared Leto was a lot of fun. This, like, he's not a draw for me, but to fully embody the ridiculousness of Skeletor, I don't know how much post processing they had to do for Jared Leto to sound like a Skeletor, but I thought it was. I'd like to imagine he just did that all himself. Like he can just pull a real Skeletor out of anywhere. The way he portrayed Skeletor is a lot of fun. I think a lot of this movie also comes down to, what do you think of Alison Brie in this movie? Because she does play a character named Eva Lynn. This movie to me seems like if Abed from Community had the chance to make a $200 million He-Man movie, it would kind of be this, and he would also cast Alison Brie in it in some fashion. I enjoyed like how silly she is, and how like it's so overcranked and so silly, and at the same time the action is great, and the sort of like realization of this world is a lot of fun. It is too long. This should be straight 2 hours max. This should not be creeping towards 2.5 hours. 90 minutes to 2 hours feels like a good time for this. But also, like, I had a lot of fun with it, and it's not my $200 million, like it is Travis Knight, and these folks convinced Amazon and a whole bunch of production studios to spend a shit ton of movie on a He-Man movie, and I feel like he's not getting a sequel with this, most likely. So that's why it's 2.5 hours long. It's like, okay, I'm going to do as much He-Man as I can. Yes, Amazon, it has to be 2.5 hours as long. The kids love the He-Man. It's definitely too long. It'd be a better movie without being so long, but I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I think it's a great way to try to do this franchise. I think it's gonna have a long life in the streaming world. Like it's very rare for us to get like a really deeply nerdy geeky thing with a big budget, also like that has such a niche audience, right? Like Star Wars and the Marvel stuff, they're all trying to appeal broadly. They're trying to appeal to everyone. I don't think this movie tried too hard to appeal to everyone. This is like, you have to be a fan of He-Man and no Masters of the Universe to enter this theater. And I'm kind of for that. Like, it's not my money. I'm very glad somebody was able to do it in this way. Yeah. And I found it really enjoyable.
Man, Devindra, it's interesting because I think you were the least enthusiastic going into this review.
Yeah.
And now coming out of the theater, you're the most enthusiastic.
It helps to have no expectations sometimes.
I think the movie is fine. Like there are some fun sequences. One of the things you said, Devindra, that I thought was interesting was like, did the movie do enough to appeal to everyone? In my opinion, there's some really dark sequences in this movie, like upsetting dark material that I'm like, oh wow. And it often feels like the movie is at odds with itself. Alison Brie, I think, is just so talented. I loved her in movies like Together and obviously in Community. But she felt like she was playing this like SNL sketch is kind of the mode that I think she was in. And that's
Kristen
not,
Wiig is also in this movie.
Kristen Wiig's in this
Right.
movie. Marina
And-
Baccarin. Yeah.
And that's not the same as like other characters at various times were not playing it like Idris Elba. I don't think is in an SNL sketch. You know what I'm saying? And so it feels like the movie is often
he is hamming it up. He is hamming it up. He is
a little bit.
He sees the outfit he's wearing. He's hamming it like he knows what movie he's in. I feel like maybe Alison Brie is a little like too much camp because the movie itself is trying to be like vaguely a little more restrained, but it's a tension. It's a real tension thing, and I think the character's name is Eva Lynn. The character. There's only so much you can do with her.
First of all, you say things, you say like, well, they had to do it this way. You know, Devindra, you say like they had to do it this way. And it's like, no, they didn't. They could have.
If you do it straight, it would be the dumbest shit in the world.
I disagree,
it would be making
dude.
the
Guardians
TV
of
show.
the Galaxy, it's a talking raccoon and a tree man.
They joke about that.
I agree
joke about that.
They don't go, I guess my name is
The very first thing is like, this is a
Groot."
talking raccoon. This is a talking like they do like recognize the absurdity of the situation they're in and who these characters are.
I would say you're right, Devindra.
Yeah.
Occasionally, it's like a
And
little
when
bit.
they
Of,
first meet
it's like
each
a little
other,
bit of
yeah,
salt. It's
yeah.
like a little bit of spice. It's a little bit of like it's like a bay leaf on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it's there, but you barely even know if it does anything. You know, like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's this movie, Masters of the Universe. It is pervasive throughout the entire film. Another really good comp, honestly, for this is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I think that is a movie that was not ashamed to be what it was.
No.
Oh.
It wasn't like making fun of the concept of like Dungeons and
that
Dragons.
source material is also is inherently more grounded. You know, there's a lot going on in Dungeons and Dragons that you can pull from and be like, okay, we don't have to like apologize for being silly. You're pulling from one of the corniest Saturday morning cartoons. I'm sorry, you're limited in how you can kind of view these characters.
The cartoon,
it's a fair point. Go ahead, Jeff.
cartoon
Go ahead.
buys into itself. The
cartoon is playing it straight. The cartoon
Exactly.
It's a cartoon
It
for
is got it-
children. Yes.
for children. And so, but I don't see why. I mean, you're telling me you have to be a huge fan of Master of the Universe to even walk into the theater. So like honor that. The people that do take this seriously enough to have bought a ticket to it don't need to be told that, oh yeah, all the names were invented by 8-year-olds because it's just all dumb and this is all stupid stuff.
I think those are little bits throughout the movie. Like this movie is 80 to 90% of love letter to this, like to the setting, to how they represent the characters, to doing like freaking a live action Skeletor that works. Yes, it does occasionally poke fun at itself, but if you were an adult with an attachment to Masters of the Universe, you should hopefully be poking fun at yourself a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit,
Jeff, because I feel like I've witnessed this like divergence in the reaction to this movie as well. Jeff,
I've seen it.
I'm in your camp, but other people I think completely agree with Devindra's point, which is like that they see this as a love letter and it's unironic and so on. And I'm like, there is a heavy ironic detachment.
I'm not saying it's unironic.
That David Chen, found very off-putting. Like I did not appreciate it at all. And I think it would have been better if they played it straight. There's a world where Adam doesn't go to Earth, and it's just all takes place in the Masters. You know, it all takes place in that universe. And
are we saying like we should only deliver what fans want? Like,
no,
I think
we're not saying that at all. That is a straw man, Devindra. It is
okay, but it's also like you're saying if you're going to the theater, you should respect like the core audience is kind of what you guys have said.
I think let me be clear. I think this take that they had is definitely a take that you can have, right? Like it is not like, oh, it's out of bounds that you can't do this. I think just for me and Jeff, it did not it felt very off-putting because it felt like maybe they pressed the hey, isn't He-Man silly button a few too many times, as opposed to just like, oh, occasionally, you know, like remember in X-Men 1, Bryan Singer, right?
Yep.
And James Marsden says about the outfits. He's like,
yes.
What do you think we would be wearing? Yellow spandex, right? But that's it. Like he doesn't like spend like 30 minutes talking about how it's yellow spandex is stupid. That's how this movie feels a lot.
And
of
they
the
also
time.
spend that entire movie not being anything like the comic.
Right, but maybe
But
this movie could have done. It could have given all the things
This
different
movie is
names.
entirely the show.
This movie,
This version of Eternia is a 1-for-1 remake from the cartoon to
Yes,
this. They just occasionally say like, "This is kind of silly," and
all the
I'm
stuff
totally
they
okay with
invent
that.
for this
Yeah.
movie is him on Earth.
Yes,
and all the
That's
stuff for him on Earth is. Isn't it ridiculous that this thing would exist on Earth?
Yeah.
Isn't he an idiot for even like talking about this stuff? And he's like he's a full ass grown man, and he's got like drawings of it. There's a drawing of a king in his bedroom that says "Dad" on it.
Yeah,
It's stupid. And the movie is constantly telling you how stupid all of this stuff is. It's constantly
Is that stupid?
The
Is that
characters
you
themselves
are calling that
don't
stupid,
like
Jeff?
their names. The characters
Yeah.
themselves are like, you're gonna call me Ram Man? No.
Again,
It's like,
that's a short scene, but this is
dude, it's constant at the whole
Yeah.
the whole end of the movie is like, what do you call yourself?
Right.
I don't know, He-Man. Oh God, He-Man. Like the whole movie is that.
I disagree.
yeah,
I disagree.
I'm
And
glad you
especially
didn't
like
think
the
so.
real world stuff. We are barely in the real world. It at least is like, what if this character Adam was shot out of Eternia as a child and had to grow up knowing everything that he knew in a world where like everyone thinks you're an insane person for believing in this fantasy land with talking cats, like talking tigers and everything. It's silly. It is very silly. The Barbie movie does this too. Like it often comments on like how silly, like what are they gonna do when they hang out at night together? I don't know. It is a self-aware thing of like how silly some of these franchises and things are, while also trying to adapt it in a way that is, I think, relatable. Like the Adam, like the Earth stuff didn't really need to be in there for that long, but it's also, it doesn't take up that much of the movie. This movie is way too long. I think that's maybe part of the issue here.
I'm going to put this out there too, Devindra. I think another comp I would actually look at is Transformers. And
Sure.
specifically Transformers 1. And this does not... Transformers 1, again, plays it completely straight. I'm Optimus Prime. That guy is... They're Decepticons. Like, it plays it completely straight.
Good point.
We can talk about how like bad the movies end
It
up
doesn't
getting.
play
and
it
stuff like
completely.
that.
It does joke about the nature of it.
Occasionally, it occasionally jokes about it a little bit.
It
But
owns all that stuff, though.
That's
it
right.
owns the whatever you would term as silly.
yeah.
It owns it, and it owns it in a way that like respects the people that actually would pay a ticket to see that.
I think so. I think again, there is a little bit of like occasional like, wait a second, it's a truck, like occasionally, but it's not like the whole tone of the thing. Let's get to spoilers for this movie, since we're already basically in spoiler territory. What are one of the issues I had with this film is this movie did not want to do a Surf Dracula with He-Man. Surf Dracula, the idea that, hey, it's only at the end of the movie that you see him become who he really is supposed to be. Instead, in this film, He-Man becomes He-Man about, I'm going to say halfway through the film.
Mhm.
Right. And the movie knows you want to see him be He-Man for like more than like
You
5
also want to
minutes
see
in the
big
movie.
action early, and it does give
Right.
you the big He-Man-esque action early. Yeah.
But the thing is, say what you will about the tenets of Surf Dracula, at least it's an ethos.
What?
And
No.
I felt like the message of like the ultimate message that he's supposed to learn is A, if you fall down, you get back up. B, there is a vision of masculinity that's not just punching people.
Yes.
And I don't feel like those effectively came across by the end of the film. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I would agree.
And that those aren't bad messages to have, but I think like the
What
idea
does this
of,
have to do with the ethos of Surf Dracula? I'm just
well, because Surf Dracula, what I mean by that is it would have been interesting, I think, to see him build up to this moment where he says, I have the power. Instead, when that moment happens halfway through the film, it feels completely unearned. And just like it comes out of no, I have the power because I remember those being the words, and that's it. His character has not reached any meaningful progress at that point in time when he first becomes He-Man, in my opinion. And so that's what I mean by Surf Dracula.
The other thing
this movie has us defending Surf Dracula.
At least
this
in a
is
Surf
what we've
Dracula
come
situation,
to.
like the climax is he's like, I have the power. And that would have been
Okay,
like, oh,
okay.
wow, amazing, cathartic. And instead, it's much more muddled in this film. I
The
feel.
other thing is, you know, believe me, I may be coming off as some sort of He-Man purist, which I am not. But in the cartoon, when
Oh boy.
when he becomes He-Man, it's a completely different persona.
Mhm.
He has become a new being.
Right.
And that
right.
being is self-assured, is aware of what he is capable of, not capable of. He has shed his inhibitions, his fears, and he has become this bolder character. And the moment in the middle of the movie when he becomes He-Man, I expected that to happen. I mean, I just expected it to happen because that's what I expected out of He-Man. And it's, you know, it's fine if they don't want to do what the cartoon did. That's totally fine. But I don't think it works to have him become He-Man and still be this little boy.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. That's right.
He is. I wished in that moment that we could have seen him actually be filled with a new sense of power. Frankly, he has the power, right? Let's be He-Man, and he is not. And it's weird and dissonant to me. Go ahead.
Honestly, a really good comp, Jeff, that you'll appreciate is Captain America: The First Avenger.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Where you see him as like the small guy, and he's kind of like a slightly different person when he's the small dude, and then he becomes Captain America, and it's like, oh wow, that's a really big moment when it's transformative. This is just the same guy. Like, he doesn't even change body type or anything. He's the same guy the whole way through.
He just sheds clothes.
He just sheds clothes, right? And it makes it less impactful when he's like, by the power, like, I have the power. You want that to be like, holy like, what an amazing
turn into
moment.
the Hulk, right? It's when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk. He's a completely different thing now.
Yeah. But Devindra, it worked for you. It worked for you.
I mean, I agree. It could have done better. It could, like, clearly that's like one of the big things that, like I said, it's really funny. This is a guy walking around with big muscles in the real world. And yeah, the He-Man character doesn't really change much. It didn't really bother me too much. It would have been nice if they tried more like Captain America: The First Avenger, which I've rewatched that movie. I like that movie quite a bit. I don't think the sort of scrawny tech that they built for Chris Evans really looks that great, but they at least tried something. There are other ways they could have gone about doing that for sure. Like, could you have shot the Earth stuff before he got pumped and then let him get pumped?
That would have been so interesting.
That would have been cool.
Like if they had done some part of the movie before he got to be, but it takes months and months. We
have the technology to turn, like, we have the technology to DH people by decades.
Right.
Can you have a technology to de-swole somebody?
Yes.
Like, maybe
that's
just de-swole him a little bit.
Yeah, that's literally what they did to Chris Evans. Captain America.
Except that he looks like freaking Golem. He looks like an unhuman.
I think he looks pretty good. I think it's
they wanted to make him a real, scrawny wimp.
Yeah,
they made him super scrawny to the point where he just looked like, are you Golem's brother or something? How scrawny are you as a human being?
But I think he looks good. I think he looks good in that film.
It doesn't. He does not look like a believable person to me. But I'm saying it is now.
No one could be that skinny and wimpy.
It is now nearly 20 years after Captain America: The First Avenger. We should have the ability to de-swole more subtly.
I don't think they were interested in that.
Yeah.
I mean, interestingly, again, I sound pathetic, but the cartoon, he was always the same size between the two, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But they do kind of do the Surf Dracula thing, because the end of this movie is when, I mean, the very last shot of this movie is him astride Battle Cat.
Yep.
That's where you want to start the next movie, which is never going to happen. But that's finally achieving Surf Dracula-dom. We're now a surfing vampire by the end of this movie, and it's like no. I'm fine, but we spent 2 hours and 20 minutes just to get to the starting point. That's where I think it's Surf Dracula. But
any thoughts on the post-credits scene, guys? What I'm curious about.
I was out of there. What happened? Tell me.
I was ready for She-Ra to show up, but
I was happy we get a bit of Orko. That was fun.
Yeah.
Come on.
Orko. Is fun. I'm surprised Orko didn't show up earlier. I don't know why Orko didn't show up earlier.
Did your audience have a reaction? So to be clear, She-Ra shows up in the post credits.
Oh, right? She does.
Yeah. And
who plays She-Ra?
I'm curious, like, if your audience had any reaction to that. I've seen some cam footage of audiences reacting like, oh my gosh, amazing, She-Ra's, and obviously she was a big part of the original, of the original franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah. No one.
Who
No.
was she played by anybody special?
No, she was played by an actor who actually gave away her appearance in the movie. But I think she is gonna be like, they shot it in such a way that they can cast anyone as She-Ra for the next one.
Right.
But I don't think there is going to be a next one. So
Listen, Orko was my She-Ra, and that was with the mid credits, like basically right after the credits began, he appeared. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah,
love me some Orko.
I will say, as somebody who only had a vague recollection of the cartoons and action figures, this movie did really feel to me like, oh, they're really just making this to sell action figures. Like,
what I mean, they don't even sell action figures on these guys anymore.
Well, what I mean is that it's like all these characters with all these like weird abilities, and it's like they get no character development at all, and they just show up to do their thing and flex their ability, and that's it. And it's like, and they're, the name, we already talked about the names, but it's like it just felt like, wow, this must be what people feel like when they walk into a Marvel film and they haven't seen any of the Marvel movies.
Maybe,
like,
except it doesn't say Mattel at the opening of a Marvel movie, right? And it's like, this is a big reminder. This is a toy company. This comes from a toy company. This exists for a very specific reason. Yeah.
Well, Devindra, I am really glad that you had a good time with this.
I did.
And I had an okay time. I think the movie is fine. I think the movie's fine. Like, it's not terrible. I wish it was less ashamed of itself, but it's not terrible. And honestly, if I had watched this movie when I was 10 years old, I think I would have been like, this is amazing. I love this film.
For sure.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Man,
the adaptations of things we got like when we were 10, or like when I was 10, were things entirely ashamed of what they were. The Super Mario Brothers movie. So many of those things.
But that's why I didn't like that movie.
But that's a bad movie, though.
That's a bad movie. And you know what this is? This is an accurate representation.
But you know what's not ashamed of itself? Star Wars is not ashamed of itself, right?
I mean, how could it be? Because it is a thing building its own self mythology.
We're like, Harrison Ford was like, you can write this, but you can't say this. What is this nonsense I'm spouting? Half the critics that went to saw it were like, what is this gobbledygook? But Star Wars actually was like confident enough to say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. We're entertaining kids. And this movie is not, I think the other thing that's weirdly dissonant is that it is made for 40-year-olds. This movie is made for 45-year-old dudes. And it knows that because it's constantly making weird sexual innuendo jokes. And I don't think this movie is made for 10-year-olds at all. I would not have wanted to take my 10-year-old to this. I did not. I don't think he would have liked it.
Right.
He doesn't even have any reference to this toy.
And there's that part when He-Man brutally slaughters all of Skeletor's men in such like gruesome fashion. I was like, whoa.
That's all kid fun. Come on. That's what He-Man does.
He kind of like torturing some of them. Like he like shoves one of them into spikes and shit. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is horrible. Anyway.
He-Man, have some dignity. Have some decorum, He-Man.
I'm glad you guys got more out of this than I did. I thought this movie, I thought the visuals were really amazing, and like Mechanic and like how everybody moved, and it just all felt so well done, and literally everything else about it. We
didn't even mention the Dolph Lundgren thing, but I was like, most of the time that is cringe, that is pure garbage, and at the same time, Dolph Lundgren, it is so great to see him on the big screen and just like give the nod. It reminds me of what Schwarzenegger did it for Vin Diesel at one point. I think for the Rundown, or not for Vin Diesel, for The Rock in The Rundown. There's a point where The Rock walks past Schwarzenegger and he's like, "Good luck."
It felt a little stilted to me. It felt very much because it's like, why would he be needing to give him a pep talk at all? Like, it makes no sense to me. Anyway, but I agree. It's the concept of it is nice. But it just felt stilted, very much like a lot of stuff. It felt very self-conscious, like many things in this film, And so
all of it felt so apologetic. It's like we were apologizing to Dolph Lundgren in a weird way. It's like, I don't know.
He deserves an apology for that movie. So.
He got paid.
I'm sorry. You have to go through that, Dolph Lundgren.
Whose quote is it? That's what the money is for.
Mm-hmm. John Hamm.
I don't know how much he got paid for that movie, but
Well, folks, at the end of the day, despite some of the things we may have said, it is really impressive that Travis Knight made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.